Hey gang, Will here with the Ashland Fly Shop with a fishing report for you for June 20th. June, what an awesome month to fish on the West Coast. We're going to give you the ins and outs. Stick with us. Here we go. All right, let's start with the upper Rogue. Wow, just wrapping up the salmon fly season. It's pretty much all wrapped up there on the Holy Water. Be the last place you might see a few, maybe at the very end of the day, but just want to say it was a great season, interesting season this year. Felt a little bit shorter on the main stem than we've seen in years, but for that brief period that we have from the May 22nd opener to right in that first week of June, we had some outrageous fishing, just some beautiful fish caught. Want to thank everyone who came out and fished with us. Want to thank all of our great guides. But yeah, what an awesome season. It's just such a cool thing to be able to, really get out and do some fast action Montana style fishing for like a week and a half in June or 2 weeks in May and June. So that's a lot of fun. Lingered on at the Holy Water like we talk about. That seemed a little bit more challenging this year than in years past, but again, some beautiful fish were caught up there. Boy, if you can have technical salmon fly fishing, we've got it here on the Holy Water in the Upper Rogue, but some really nice fish caught up there. So let's talk about what's going on. So flows are down a bit to 2650. And that's coming out of the dam. And so the Holy Water, again, like I said, salmon flies, golden stones at the very end of the day. You might see some still around the water, some fish still imprinted on those flies. But it's time to switch tactics. You're still going to have hungry fish, still going to have aggressive fish. You've got good water temps for chasing trout up there. So it's time to start looking again at streamers, which is one of my favorite ways to fish up there. Fishing little trout spay rods, single hand rods with light sinking tips and lines is a great way to go this time of year. Like I said, you've still got hungry fish, so that can be pretty good. Nymphing's never been my sort of technique of choice, but I've heard some people do really well nymphing up there, so give it a shot. There's some pretty obvious places to run nymphs through up there, and that can be pretty good. But the Holy Water, I think, is a good bet, a good summer bet. It kind of falls off the radar a bit, but it is a good bet, now, and especially now and continuing into the summer months. Main stem Rogue, we really just kind of put it away until we start chasing steelhead, which is coming right up. But we kind of put it away now. It's kind of set aside for the rubber raft contingent up there. Still a little bit to do. You could go up and try some different techniques in there. We've actually had a couple guide days in the last week or so, but it's been pretty hit or miss. A few nice fish in there, but nothing like the action that we've seen. So that's what's happening in the Upper Rogue. Stay tuned for summer steelhead. We are just starting to think about them. We're just going to be poking around for them in the next week or couple weeks here. So we'll update you on that as we start to see those fish come in. Northern California, let's talk about it. Now is the time. It is the tip of the spear, tip of the iceberg, peak of the year. Now is the time to be fishing Northern California. For the West Coast trout fisher, you are not going to find a better place to go for walk and wade fishing, or if you're fishing lower Sacramento from a boat or whatever. So we'll start with the upper Sac. Still a little bit high, but if you're fishing in those upper reaches, Dunsmuir up to Cantera Loop, around Mount Shasta and Alpen there, you're going to find wadeable flows, and the river's going to be very familiar to you. Now is the time you're going to see all kinds of complex hatches and stuff going on. We're actually even on the backside of some of the hatches that occurred, during the higher water. Maybe some of those green drakes, things like that we can see on the early end and on the upper Sacramento are going to be on the backside. Higher up, Dunsmuir on up to Cantera, you're going to see mixes of golden stones, some of the larger stones, midges, caddis. Like, it's all going to be happening now for the next 2 or 3 weeks before we really get into the hot weather into mid to late July, and those hatches really start to compress to very early and very, very late. That's still going to be a good time if you're looking to dry fly fish. But that's going to linger. It's going to be expanded, and you'll see hatches happen in midday. Nymphing, we're all used to nymphing the upper Sacramento. Now it's going to be a great time to do it. Really good. Fish are going to be looking to eat. and they're going to be aggressive, and now is a very good time to be out there fishing. We talk about it, so we preview it at different times of the year, and here we are. So please make plans to do some of that fishing if you can. McCloud River, we'll scoot right over there. Looking really good. Same thing. Now's the time you see most bug activity on that river. It's very familiar at 230 CFS coming out of the dam. One thing to keep in mind for both the Upper Sacramento and the McCloud, and I just drove through Northern California recently, and there's good dense snowpack like all around. So all the little creeks and tribs are still going to be pumping in pretty good for a while. So when you're looking at those flows, keep in mind that you're going to have some impact from these feeder streams that we might not see year to year like we're seeing this year. So keep that in mind. It's probably going to be a little higher than you're familiar with, but is going to be good. So like I said, all the same stuff applies to the McCloud. Complex hatches, golden stones. I think if you're up in the Ash Camp area, up closer to the dam, that's where you're going to see these golden stones, and Terra Narcissus, the larger salmon flies, are still going to have their day up there. I think we're still right in that window where they're going to start showing up, and that's going to linger on for another like another week or so here, I would say. But it's a good time to be up there fishing dries right now. Again, we're all familiar with fishing nymphs, and it's a great time to do that up there as well. So have your dry fly boxes full if you're heading up to the Upper Sac or McCloud at this time of year, and bring all your nymphs and stuff too. And again, it's really the best time of the year to be fishing those rivers. Continuing on around the horn there in the Mount Shasta region, Hat Creek, Pitt River, Fall River, all great times to be going there. So we've had good feedback from Hat Creek, and Fall River seems like it's on a similar trajectory as it was last year, which was an exceptional year at Fall. So Fall River sounds like it's fishing really well. Hat Creek, Pitt River, it's just really the time to be up there fishing. If you're looking for more specific info, feel free to give us a call. Other great shops to call are the Fly Shop in Redding and the Ted Fay Fly Shop in Dunsmuir. They're both really good with those current reports on those rivers. So between us, you can really get an accurate report, but we're happy to help with that. Klamath Basin, Williamson River, we just have had in the last week some of the first good reports. It looks like the river's kind of clearing up a bit, and this early time of year, especially this year with all the snowpack and the late rain and stuff, the Sprague River can pump in a lot of like reedy, marshy kind of water. So it sounds like it's kind of settling out. Paul McDonald, the guy we work with over there, a lot of guides over there, great guide. He has had a couple good trips this week, and we've seen some beautiful fish from him. So I think it's time to start tuning into the Williamson, Klamath Lake in general. Be a very good time to be fishing over there. Agency Lake, Wood River, if you've got, you've kind of got a bent on that, or you know how to approach the Wood, it would be a good time to be up there now. I think Paul does do some guiding on the Wood as well, but I think we've had some warm weather, and the fish are going to start, start their migration into those rivers. It's early, but they're just going to start poking in there. So I think now is a good time to start looking at the Wood in Williamson. And I know Paul surprisingly had some very good days available going into the summer. So if you're interested in doing a guided trip over there with Paul, I'd highly recommend you reach out about that on the early end, because his schedule will definitely fill up. But happy to talk to you about that. But that Klamath Basin is really starting to go off. So that's what we know. We're going to wrap up this regional fishing report for the 20th of June. Just want to remind you, we are paying attention to steelhead stuff. We've got an ear tuned into the North Umpqua. We're very tuned into what's happening on the Rogue and where we're going to see those fish start showing up, and we'll start feeding those reports to you as soon as we get them, because we are nuts about swinging flies for steelhead, and we will be out after them shortly. So if you have any questions about that, give us a call. Thanks so much for tuning in as usual, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.